Hello there, Jackson Middle School students. Mr. Combe here with another assignment for you. This week we're going to start learning about what we call a still life. Okay, still lifes are basically you gather a bunch of stuff up and you put it in a big pile and you draw it. Okay, I like to give my still life a theme, makes it more interesting, kind of a challenge. But yours is to go around the house first off, gather a bunch of stuff, and then put it in a pile so you can stare at it for a while and draw it. Okay. We're also going to add a couple other things to help make this drawing more interesting and a little bit more challenging. Okay. So first off, still life. Go around, find some stuff, make it fun. Go. All right. So I'm thinking this is going to be my pile of stuff. Okay. Um, let's get the rest of that junk out. So it's not messing with the view. So, my still life here, I got some Lysol wipes, my gaming headphones, some mystical magical beard oil stuff. We got a wallet, this is my wireless phone charger, board game, 3D printer stuff, hand soap. That's important. We also got some steel cut oats because they last forever. They're delicious, and that's something I had. Moving swiftly on. Also got my controller here. We got this. I got a random piece of pipeline around. Why not? Throw that in there. Okay. You also might have saw I have this dude. Animals are going stir crazy. This is just the Lego model I got, but he's a little bit too complex for this. Okay. Something this elaborate might not be a good choice for your still life. Okay, so stick with like simple shapes. Okay, Sebastian, we're gonna put you back where you came from. Here we go. So once you have this set up, now what you want to do is get does not bump your camera around. Is you want to get a strong light source. All right, so you can kind of see how the light changes the shadows and stuff. And what you want to do is you want to be at roughly a 90-degree angle from the light source. So if I'm sitting here and then the stuff's right there, that means the light is coming from over yonder. Okay, so it's just directly to my right. And the purpose of that is to help make the lighting of this still life more dramatic. Okay, it's going to be a lot more interesting to look at. If you don't have this, if you don't have a light you can get to, don't worry about it. Okay, but if you do have access to one that you can kind of move around, like I got, it'd be a good idea to throw it in there. It makes your final end your final artwork look a little bit more visually interesting. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to get my drawing paper and I'm going to start drawing. So I'm going to take a snapshot of this, and I'm actually just going to focus in on my sketchbook, so that way, and I'm hoping I could just sneak this little picture of this into the corner of the screen, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so to the sketchbook. All right, so what we're going to start doing is start off our sketch by looking at the overall forms of our still life. Starting out with just basic drawings and stuff. You can see how I started off with the Quaker Oak cylinder thing, okay? It's just a blank cylinder. Then I go to the pump, and what I'm doing is I'm just sketching out the placements of things, okay? I'm not adding in any detail. I'm just looking for getting the size and the placement and the spacing in between all these large objects sorted out, okay? If you're sketching, your pencil marking should be so light, erasing is not a big deal, okay? You're going to be erasing probably just as much as you're drawing, okay? Then going through placing stuff and just finding out where everything goes. A couple of things you could be doing, what I like to do is use what's called negative space. Negative space is the area in between two objects, okay? So like we have the soap dispenser and the Quaker Oats container, and I can tell that something wasn't right there because of the spacing in between those two things, those two objects. You could also use negative space to kind of see if something is shaped right. If you look at it on the paper and the outside edges don't look right, you're using the negative space to look at it and compare it. You'll see here at some point I make a fix on the headset. I drop down that earpiece all the way to the bottom of the page. Okay, so now that I'm done with my first draft, what I'm going through and doing now is going through, deciding on some of those lines and darkening them up. Kind of dedicating those lines a bit more, adding in maybe a little bit more detail, finalizing the placement and the size of some of these things. So me go back and forth and darken up lines and erase other lines and replace those lines. I know for a fact that soap dispenser gets changed 3 or 4 times. I'm also starting to put in the labels on this. You might want to hold off adding that level of detail and still be working on the basic forms of stuff. You can choose not to even put the labels on. I just wanted to give it a shot. Let's just see what I do so far. So just continuing to darken up those lines. You also notice every now and then I'll throw down a really light straight line up the middle of stuff or across the middle of stuff. It's to kind of help me figure out the orientation and get both sides to mirror each other. Biggest problem we see at the middle school is kids drawing stuff they know. If you can't see it, you can't draw it. So don't make up stuff. Don't draw stuff you know. Only draw stuff you see. You're just basically copying what's in front of you. You're trying to be as honest as you can. Okay. This isn't really an exercise in how to draw stuff. This is more of an exercise in how to train your eyes to look critically at things. That's basically all I do. I don't teach students how to draw. I teach students how to see things. If you can see those details, then you can draw them. And that's the whole purpose of this exercise, is to practice training your eyes to look for that detail. Yeah, there you could see how I take the earpiece and drop it down because I realize how low it is. in the actual still life. Remember, you're trying to go for realism. Make it as realistic and as detailed as possible. Now at this point I'm adding the details on the labels. You might want to not do that. You might want to do your shading first and then go back and do your labels, because you'll end up having to redo all your detailed drawings anyway if you go over it with shading. So shading and then details is the best tip I can give you on that. At this point, you'll notice I start using some kind of newspaper or junk mail thing. I put that underneath my hand so I stop smudging my drawing lines. Basically, you use that to protect your drawing so you can still rest your hand on your paper, but you're not smudging the work you've already completed. It's a tip my dad taught me. So now that I've gotten my basic forms done, I've added in a little bit of detail. Now I'm doing my shading work. Okay. Again, I suggest you do your shading work before your detail. Do it as I say, not as I do. Oops. And all I'm doing is anywhere I see a shadow using that light, where it's dark on one side of the object, I make sure and I go through and I add that shadow. And then what I do is I take a piece of paper towel, you can use a tissue, you can use toilet paper, whatever you got, and just kind of smear that and blend it in a bit. It softens up your shadows, makes them more even. But you don't want to go crazy and do it over the whole thing. You don't want to flatten your drawing. I'm seeing a lot of students get overzealous with that, and they have like a really nice three-dimensional looking drawing, and then they take the paper towel and they smooth it out so much and then it looks flat. The goal of this is to help it look round and three-dimensional. Another reason I use a paper towel is because your fingers make an oil. Your whole body makes this oil, but it's all over your skin. And sometimes if you're using certain kinds of paper, that oil reacts with that paper and you get these weird yellowing marks. So that's why I always encourage my students to use Kleenex or paper towel or something. You only need one and it lasts you the whole drawing. And on flat surfaces, you use straight lines to create shadows. It helps them feel more flat. Whereas on curved surfaces, you'll notice I'll use curved lines or little circles to help it feel more rounded. Okay? Try to do that. So like on my cylinders and spheres and the Xbox controller, you'll see me use round lines. Whereas on the boxes, you'll see me use straight lines. Again, you're trying to make this look as realistic as possible. So you'll notice on some of the surface, like the glass, I'm going through and like really highlighting a couple of spots just like I see it in the image or what I see in real life. Different materials will reflect light differently. So like that soap dispenser, it's kind of a matted texture, so it doesn't reflect as much, whereas the glass will reflect a ton. Or that phone charger down there, it's also kind of matted, so it only has certain spots where it reflects, and your drawing should show that. Another thing about the shading is you have to shade everything. The whole drawing should have some kind of shading to it. Okay? Don't leave anything untouched. If it's supposed to be like a bright spot, like on that glass bottle where it's light's reflecting, you need to erase it. Okay? The only time you have any empty spot is when you've erased it, and this is for lighting purposes. So we're going to call this art project done. Remember to start with your still life. You need at least 5 objects. The second thing is go through, and the first thing you do is sketch everything lightly using a contour line sketch. The third thing is to go through and add your values. Don't do like I did and have to redraw all your details after you go through and do your values. And lastly, you do your detail work. Okay? Break it down into those 3 steps and you should have a pretty good success. Okay? Take your time, have some fun with it, find some cool stuff. Make sure you upload this to Canvas. Looking forward to seeing what you make. Alright, so once you're logged into Canvas, what you need to do is take a photo of your artwork, okay? And also, if you can, take a photo of your still life that you drew. I would like to see both, see how realistic you made it, okay? So, we're going to click on the still life assignment. Come on. Okay. Then what you're going to do is hover up here to where it says Submit Assignment, okay? And then you're going to look for the file, the picture. So, so click where it says Choose File. And here's a picture of my, here's my drawing, okay? So I'm going to click Open, okay? Let's see, do I have a picture of my actual still life? I'll have to hunt that down later. But you can see I just click on the file and upload it. Now mine gives me this really long name. If you want, you can rename it. It's up to you. But this is how you submit the file onto Canvas. So once you got all the pictures you want, or if you need to add more, or if you need to write some comments, do that. But once you have everything the way you want it, click Submit Assignment. And it submits it. And you're done. Okay? So make sure you submit that assignment on Canvas, okay? Can't really get it any other way. Okay? So good luck, have fun with this, be creative, looking forward to seeing what you make.